Good morning, sixth grade. Today's lesson is lesson 89, and we're going to be estimating square roots. Okay, now we have practice finding perfect squares, okay, of our square roots. So let me review that for just a minute. Okay, the square root of 9. When you're finding square roots, you're trying to find a number that you multiply by itself that would equal that number. So, what two numbers, if we multiply them together, would equal 9? It would be 3 times 3, right? So that means the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, okay? And that's a perfect square because there's no remainders or anything, and it's pretty easy to find that. Okay, what two numbers would we multiply together to find the square root of 16? Think for a minute. Two numbers we multiply together, of two of the same numbers that we multiply together that would equal 16. Okay? If you said 4, you would be correct because 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, those are some very simple ones, and if you know your multiplication facts, you can do those rather quickly. Let's do one a little more challenging. Now, we're going to find the square root of 400. Okay? So we're going to have to do a little estimating here. Now, we're going to do what we call the guess and check method, okay? If I say, I wonder if it's 10. Well, 10 times 10 is 100, right? So it's got to be more than 10, okay? What if I said 100 times 100, okay? Let's see, that would be 10,000, so that's way too high, isn't it? So we know it's not 10, because it's got to be more than 10. We know it's not 100, because that's way too much. I think you'll be able to learn to look for clues. Let's look at that 4 right now. What's the square root of 4? What number do you multiply by itself to get 4? Well, we know it's 2, isn't it? But see, if we just did 2 times 2, that's 4, and this is 400. So let's add a 0 and try our 20. So 20 times 20. There it is, 400. So our square root of 400 is 20. What we did is we kind of simplified and found the square root of 4 first, and that helped us find the square root of 400. Okay? That's one example. And they're kind of easy, especially if they end in zeros. Let's do one a little more challenging. Okay, we're going to find the square root of 625. Okay, now, we found the square root of 400. Okay, let me just remind us about that here, which was 20. Okay, so we know if we're going to find the square root of 625, it has to be more than 20. Because 20 times 20 only ends up being 400, and this is 625, okay? Well, let's try 30, okay? Well, if we had 30 times 30, that would end up being 900. Oh, so that's way too much. So we know the square root of 625 is going to be somewhere between our 20 and our 30. And since this ends in a 5, we know it's divisible by 5, right? Okay, and it actually ends in 25. Let's try 25. So if we take 25 and multiply it by 25, there it is, 625. So our square root of that is 25. Okay? All right, now this is just part 1 of this lesson, because this was finding perfect squares. So once you kind of get this in your mind, finding perfect squares, then I want you to go on and watch part 2 of this lesson. Okay? All right, great.